But do you mind if I go back to this?
Sure.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
So what the there's two bills right now, and these are sponsored by Matthew Krause. He's the representative. Now let me tell you how we got in touch with Matthew Krause. About in 2013, I went through a divorce in 2012, and nobody thought the divorce ever should have happened. That was the reality. But it did happen, and what I was shocked, Mike, because I had no defense. I'm being sued by my wife for divorce, and she even afterwards said, "Yeah, I was hoping for reconciliation at the end." I'm like, "Well, why are you doing this?" It was the most insane thing I'd ever seen. But she claimed irreconcilable differences, and I've got my signature. I never claimed that, but I had to give up all my property and everything else like that. But what happens in House Bill 922, the insupportability issue says this: on the petition of either party to a marriage, the court may grant a divorce. Right now, the court always grants a divorce. The court may grant a divorce without regard to fault if both parties to the marriage agree that the marriage has become insupportable because of discord or conflict of personalities that destroys the legitimate ends of the marital relationship and prevents any reasonable expectation of reconciliation. So what is nice about this is that
So it wouldn't be unilateral.
it's not unilateral. And some people might think, well, that's really, how can you do this? Currently, we have South Dakota and Mississippi. They allow no-fault divorce if it is mutual,
Right.
if there's a mutual decision. But what happens in the state of Texas and every state in the country is that no-fault divorce is forced divorce. It's unilateral divorce. If I'm married to my wife and I want a divorce, I can exploit her. I can say, you know what, sorry, but I'm looking for a younger model. She can say the same thing to me and say, hey, you know what, I met somebody, he's got more money and he's smarter and more attractive than you. But I'm like, well, okay, what is my crime? You're being sued. What am I being sued? What did I do? Did I commit a crime? And when I was going through divorce, I kept on thinking to myself, Mike, if I were accused of being a rapist or a murderer, I would have the presumption of innocence.
At least you have a say.
Yeah, I could say, wait a minute, now we get a chance to prove this. No, I wasn't there. There's no DNA there. There's no picture of me being there. I didn't do this, and they can say you're innocent. But in divorce, they say, you're guilty. Well, what's the evidence? We don't need any evidence. Your wife is unhappy, and she claims insupportability. Everybody around us said it. Nobody believed it. But on the basis of her testimony, which really was a pretty weak testimony, to be honest, the judge granted a divorce, destroyed the family. And I think we have to look at family policy, and say it's not just through the eyes of the two adults. We have to look at it through the lens of family.
Well, looking at it from a legal perspective, I just have a question. There's a question in my mind whether or not in an adversarial proceeding, when the best interest of the child can conceivably be first at all.
It cannot be first. And that's what people say that, and I've heard a lot of attorneys, the divorce attorneys in particular, say this. Well, they just need to grow up and get over it. So in other words, I've committed to a person for my lifetime, and we've said we've worked together for my ex-wife and I was 25 years that, we've been married and everything, and, been missionaries together, been a whole lot of things together. Yes, you go through struggles, you go through tough times, whatever, but you're going to go together with life. And all of a sudden somebody's going to say, okay, she wants out, so we're going to let her out. And I'm saying, wait a minute, we have this many years together, we've built our family like this, and the thing is, Mike, what they've shown again and again, it's the marriages in which insupportability, no fault is claimed, which the kids are shocked over. They're like, this doesn't need to take place. It hurts those kids more in the long run. But the state of Texas, this is their policy. And not only that, the state of Texas always, without exception, 100% of the time, sides with the person who wants a divorce. And that's very easy to prove, because all you have to do is, over the last 5 years, if you can show me 5 instances, just give me 3 instances over the last 5 years in which somebody said, wait a minute, I don't believe our marriage is insupportable, and the judge said, okay, I'm going to deny the divorce. It never happens. All it takes is an accusation. There's no due process. There's no equal protection under the law. We look at marriage as being a contract. The contract clause of the United States Constitution says that the state should do nothing to impair the obligation of contracts. There are so many constitutional and legal violations that take place in our family court that it's incredible. Now, this bill, because it would say mutual consent, what it does, it gives protection to a spouse who says, wait a minute, I don't believe that our marriage is irreconcilable. In fact, I'm even surprised that you're filing for divorce. What did I do?
Well, it gives you a chance to try to preserve the family.
Right. And that was the original intent of the idea behind no fault. If you go back to California, what they had going on at the same time, no fault was never supposed to be divorce on demand. It was supposed to be an opportunity that, we're going to diffuse the tension. We're going to give this husband and wife an opportunity to help restore their marriage, to help keep the family together. That was the intent, so that they could help save marriages. And in California, they actually had a truck that was very successful doing that. But then after it got passed, it was marketed as this, but then after it got passed, it became divorce on demand, divorce for any reason and for no reason. I can force divorce on you. Spread like wildfire. That's why if you look at the divorce rate from after Ronald Reagan signed it into law until, it went skyrocketing. Now it's starting to just come down a bit, but the other thing is that, you have a lot of men and women right now who are postponing marriage. They're delaying marriage. They're cohabiting. They're having kids, but I'm not getting married. I've seen what's already happened in these divorce courts. That is not for the good of society. It's not for the good of the children. It does not create any type of security. And marriage is a sacred bond. It is something that if two people, for example, meet in a church and they say, we are committing ourselves to God, we're taking a vow to God, why is the state saying, oh, that's okay, but your vow to God doesn't mean anything? This is crazy. It becomes a religious liberty issue. It becomes an issue that, why does this serve the purpose of the state? Because if in a criminal, if there's a case, a civil case, or a case dealing with fundamental rights, the state cannot just say, we're going to just wipe out all of your rights or something. It's got to find a solution in the least invasive way. And yet what they're doing is saying, we're going to destroy this marriage. There's a difference between a sick marriage and a dead marriage. A sick marriage, you go and you can see somebody and say, if I'm sick and I go to the doctor and the doctor says, here's some medicine, do this, it's going to
make it better.
It's going to make it better. But what would it be like is every time I was sick, the doctor said, well, I'm going to give you a lethal injection. And I read, but this is the execution chamber of divorce.
Check it out.
Yeah. I'm like, hey, I'm never going back to the doctors again.
Have a cold way, it's time for you to get up out of here.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But that's what happens, and I think you agree with me. In the family courts, that's exactly what happens. There needs to be two different approaches. There are instances where divorce is a remedy. I will grant that. But divorce is so easy. The interesting thing, Mike, is that there is a judge, Supreme Court judge out of Georgia. Her name is Leah Ward Sears. She was working with a family therapist out of the University of Minnesota, William Daugherty, and they put this forth, the Second Chance Act. And it was basically to try to say, we've got to reduce the divorce rate. We've got to give these couples a chance at divorce, because they said even after they were very much into the conflict and the attorneys are filing things and trying to create bitterness, because that's how the attorneys make their money. The attorneys are trying to destroy a family. Either one of them, sometimes both of them, are saying, can we maybe get off this exit ramp? Can we take an exit ramp? Can we take a breather? Can we try to work this out? And often, I'm not saying in every case, but sometimes, and I would say often, the divorce attorneys are instigating things. I've talked with people, Mike, and they've said, we were on the verge of reconciling, and my husband's divorce attorney said it's a trick.
Well, the attorneys get paid. The attorneys get paid by creating animosity.
Right. Right.
And I believe that if both married couples that hit those rough spots, that you're going to hit sometimes.
Yeah.
Because people are people.
Yeah.
But if counseling or something like was required, at least required before you can get a so-called no-fault
Yeah.
divorce.
Yeah. And this is what the family laws attorney will tell you. And they lie to you, by the way. I've watched the testimony. I've been down there. In 2017, I testified, and I was watching the Texas Family Law Foundation representative getting up there, lying to the representatives. And I've put the videos out online and everything. But she's saying, well, all they have to do is ask for counseling, and the judge will give it. That is a lie, too. The judge may give it.
But it may not.
It may not, and oftentimes won't. And the reality, Mike, is that you're going through this stuff. You don't know what your rights are. But, if you hire a divorce attorney for a mere $350 or $400 an hour, they'll walk you through the process. But the thing is, in the Texas Family Code, there is really no defense. There is a section, defenses against divorce, and there's only one defense, and this would be the example. It's called, when condoning, condonation. So in other words, if my wife, I say to my wife, hey, you know what, I really like her, I'd like to go sleep with her, and my wife's like, go ahead, it's okay with me. Or she says the same thing to me, you know what, I really like this guy, and I'd really like to have sex with him. I said, well, go ahead, it's okay with me. Now, I cannot therefore get a divorce from her, nor can she get a divorce from me because of adultery, because I've condoned it. That is the only defense you have. Other than that, it's like, boom, Saddam Hussein would have these mock, and I say this because as I said, I was a missionary in Jordan among Iraqi refugees. I used to watch some of the things. Saddam Hussein would have these mock trials, and he would call a name, he'd find the person guilty, they take him out and they shoot him. This is your Texas family courts today. That's the reality. So the House Bill 922 would help to stop that, would give at least the vulnerable person an opportunity to say, wait a minute, I object. I don't think that our marriage is hit the rock.